I'm 20 now, but I still can't forget those terrifying events 5 years ago. It happened in the 9th grade, right at the beginning of the school year. Our maths teacher was talking about the upcoming summer exams, but was suddenly interrupted by the principal, who entered the classroom in the middle of the lesson. The class stood up and greeted Viktor Yevgenyevich. He smiled and allowed them to sit down. "Hello guys, I have a short announcement for you. A new pupil has transferred to your class. His name is Misha. I hope you will understand. That's all. I won't bother you anymore." Mish managed to get into the classroom. The principal left the office and a new student took his place at the blackboard. He was of robust build and at least 2 meters tall. He had a good-natured smile on his face and a friendly and open look. And overall, the newcomer was very charismatic. The girls sighed in love, and the boys looked at the newcomer with appraising eyes. After a small welcome, the teacher asked Misha to sit in the free seat next to me. In general, I never liked to sit with someone in pairs, but here, I decided to make an exception for some reason. When the boy landed on the chair, I immediately started peppering him with various questions. It was convenient to talk at the last table, where no one noticed you. Right after the bell rang for the break, Vitya and Kolya came to us, my best childhood friends. We always spent time together and even wanted to go to the same college. "Hello, Misha. So, shall we meet? I'm Vitya. This is Kolya, and you already know Dima. You two lovebirds were having such a lively chat." "What about you?" I asked. With all 32 smiling, Vitya was the first to speak. "Ah, the local clown is here." I rolled my eyes sarcastically and added, "It's okay, Misha. You'll get used to that fool too." "Yeah, I have no doubt about it, guys," replied our new classmate, after which the 4 of us left the office and went for a walk around the school. Our group talked like this the whole break, and even in the remaining hours, we whispered to each other, because of which my friends and I were regularly thrown out into the corridor. After the school day ended, Misha decided to go with us. We ran to the store, bought some small things, and went to the schoolyard. The laughter in the company did not stop for a minute. At one point, the newcomer suddenly turned to us and said, "Listen, I just remembered something. My parents are on vacation for a week and tomorrow is Saturday. Maybe we could have a bachelor party. I have a bar at home with expensive alcohol, lots of snacks and other things." Misha emphasized the last words with a special intonation, as if he knew how to hook us. I hesitated for a few seconds. The point was that my parents are strict and didn't want to let me go to sleepovers with my friends. But the guys were so excited at the mention of alcohol that it would be a sin for me to refuse. After setting the date and time, the boys and I headed home. Of course, there was no talk of any teaching. Everyone was looking forward to a great party. It was finally Saturday night. I quickly grabbed my things and ran to the bus stop where my friends were waiting for me. Before long, we were loaded onto a small bus, usually used by people living outside the city, and we were cheerfully speeding off towards our adventure. It took us about 20 minutes to reach our destination. The driver dropped us off at a stop in the middle of a field, then stepped on the gas, and the bus disappeared from view. So where to next? "I don't see any houses here," I said, lazily looking around. "Don't worry, bro. Everything is taken care of. Mishanya sent me the geolocation yesterday, so we will see a lot there." "Hello." Vitya took on the role of a guide, and after opening the map on his phone, led our group along a route that only he knew. We watched each other carefully. We felt that at least an hour had passed when Misha's house finally appeared behind the next hatch. To say that we were shocked by the sight of this building is an understatement. A huge 3-story mansion stood behind a blackened and slightly rusted fence. Overall, the house looked unkempt. The paint was peeling on the walls, the window frames were cracked over time, and the yard had turned from a beautiful flower garden into a mowed meadow. Apparently, a noble family once lived here, which had its own servants, and not only that. As the boys and I walked through the open gate and approached the porch, we saw a dilapidated wooden door. I had the feeling that this was not the house Misha told us about, even though the address on the sign nailed to the fence disproved my doubts and only made my soul heavier. Vieja broke the silence in the first row. And how the hell am I supposed to understand that? Is he kidding us? Or does he really live in a hole like this? No, I replied. Look, why blame the kid that his parents don't have much money? You should be glad they even invited you. Kolyan stood up for our new classmate. He was serious and frowned a little because he understood well what poverty was. Okay, that's enough. Stop whining. We're finally going inside. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. Okay, said Kolaj. I went up the stairs, went to the doorbell, and rang it. After a loud beep, I heard footsteps approaching, and a few seconds later, the door creaked open. Misha was standing on the threshold, smiling cheerfully and holding his hands behind his back. Welcome to the party, gentlemen. Go up to the first floor and go to the right. That's where my room will be. I'll bring alcohol and snacks for now. Okay, I said. With these words, the housekeeper left somewhere, and we slowly went out into the corridor. I was extremely surprised, but the castle looked much better inside than outside, as if the exterior was just an illusion. Following our classmates' instructions, the three of us went up to the first floor and turned straight to his room. Fresh white colors and new furniture pleasantly surprised me. The tension immediately subsided, and there was a feeling of relaxation. Everyone wanted to start having fun and relaxing as soon as possible. Before long, Misha entered the room with 3 dark brown bottles and 2 large packets of chips. We greeted him with shouts of joy and started pouring alcohol while turning on the speaker with music. Night fell quietly outside the window. By now, everyone present was tired of dancing and went to different corners of the room where they stared at their smartphones. I don't remember exactly how long we sat there watching social media, but at one point, we heard a loud click, and the lights suddenly went out in the whole house. Surprised at what happened, the boys even dropped their phones. I held mine in my hand and turned on the flashlight to look around. Misha was nowhere to be found. The open door to his bedroom gave me the terrifying idea that our classmate had been kidnapped. I was more scared than ever. My anxiety was mounting, and my heart was pounding like a cross-country runner. Guys, what the hell is this? Where is Miska, and why isn't Svetla here? No, that's not true. As expected, Kolya panicked, and Vicha, like his older brother, immediately began to calm him down. Hey, what are you doing? Calm down. It's just a joke, pure and simple. There are cameras everywhere, and the new one is now sitting somewhere laughing at us. Just let me get to you, you moron. My friend started shining a light in all corners, as if trying to find proof of what he was saying. Look, I don't think this is a joke, I said in a serious voice, looking at the boys. Obviously something is wrong here. Let's go downstairs. If no one is there, we will slowly get out of here. And what if no one is there? That's a great idea, by the way. I'm tired of hanging around here anyway. And we're out of booze. Vityok smiled idiotically, apparently not yet fully realizing the mess our friendly group had gotten themselves into. We alternately shouted, called for Misha, but the answer was only silence. The mansion seemed to empty in an instant and became completely foreign. The black walls surrounded us like shadows, and I now saw nightmares in every corner. We crept down the stairs by feel and then froze in dumb horror. There was something standing in the hallway by the front door, a thin and very tall creature resembling a woman. Its long hands had huge fingers with sharp claws, and its eyes shone like two lights in the darkness, staring at us continuously. Just looking at that monster paralyzed my whole body. In my mind, I regretted 1,000 times that I had agreed to go to this damned house. Vitya was the first to wake up from his slumber, and with a trembling hand, pointed the flashlight directly at the creature's face. His eyes got even bigger. You could even see blood veins. As soon as the light fell on the monster, it exploded and overturned the cabinet, blocking the passage to the street, before disappearing into the darkness of the corridor with jerky movements. Since it was suicidal to go out in the middle of the night, where there wasn't a soul alive, and there was a blood monster roaming the ground floor, I ordered the boys to run back upstairs. It didn't take long before the three of us ran into a kind of bedroom-like room and locked the door behind us. "What the hell was that?" Kolyan screamed, even as he continued to breathe heavily. "That thing had to eat Misha, and now it's coming after us. I don't want to die. If you keep yelling, it will find us. We don't need more." The blow quickly brought Kolya to his senses, and he calmed down a bit. "What are we going to do, guys? Should we call the police or the parents? We have to get out of here somehow," I said, looking at the boys. "Yeah, sure. But how do we call them if there's no communication?" "Well, yes. But how do we call them if there's no communication?" Vitsa showed the crossed-out sticks in the right corner of his smartphone. "When there was electricity, at least the Wi-Fi worked. But now it's dead silent, like a forest, man." "Damn, you're right." I checked my phone and set it down in annoyance. "So we can try to get out and call for help if there's anyone nearby." "Are you fucking kidding me?" My friend looked at me like I was an idiot. "It's 10 kilometers to the nearest settlement, if not more. We'll either get lost in the dark forest and freeze to death, or the thing will catch up and eat us." "But that's genius. Shit. I have something to offer, and you just..." I suddenly heard a loud growl that instantly silenced me. At the same second, a heavy and approaching stomping sound was heard from outside the stairs. We looked up and immediately broke into a frantic run. My thoughts raced through my head. My heart ached from the pace and fear. My legs burned, but I had to run. We had to run without looking back, because everyone wanted to live. I was leading the way and was the first on the 3rd floor when I suddenly heard a hideous scream behind me. I had to turn around, but I wish I hadn't. Kolya was lying on the stairs, leading to the top floor. The demonic creature was sitting on top of him, tearing pieces of his flesh with its bare hands and shoving them into its mouth. The wooden floorboards were soaked in a huge pool of blood. There were sickening sounds of bones crunching and the monster munching. The creature was so busy feasting that it was oblivious to our existence, which played into our hands. I remembered my first encounter with the ugly thing and decided to shine the flashlight directly in its face. As the light hit the monster, it growled and quickly retreated into the shadows. His blazing eyes never left my face for a moment, and I saw animal hatred in them. Before long, the monster disappeared somewhere, completely disappearing into the darkness of the house. I grabbed the stunned Vitsa by the scruff of the neck and dragged him deep into the corridor. When we were relatively safe, my friend stopped and sat down on the floor, exhausted. It was obvious from his face that he was scared and on the verge of a nervous breakdown. "Dime, I don't know what to do. We have to get out of here. Otherwise, we'll all end up dead." Vitsa wiped his tears and looked at me desperately. "I don't want to die. Honestly, I don't." "And Kolya, what are we going to tell his parents?" "I don't know," I said. The boy covered his face with his hands and cried again. "You know what I noticed?" I said, confused, ignoring my friend's pessimistic attitude. "The scumbag seems afraid of the light." When I pointed the flashlight at him, he immediately squealed and began backing away quickly into the darkness. "We need to find the switchboard and turn on the lights in the house. Then we'll be done by morning." "What?" I asked. "And where do you think he is?" Vitsa asked lively. "In the basement, I think. At least that's how it was in one computer game," I said sarcastically, and then helped my friend up, and we walked back out into the hallway together. We tiptoed down to the ground floor, into the hallway, where the cabinet was still lying, blocking the entrance door. There were smears of blood on the floor, and Kolyo's body was missing, all of which indicated that the creature had already taken him somewhere. Immediately, Vitya nudged me under the rib and pointed to the open door to the left of the staircase. I moved closer and shined my flashlight. We saw stairs leading down into the darkness. I had nothing to do, so I had to go down. The basement was dark, damp, and smelled of mold. I almost cried out in surprise when I turned on the light. Misha suddenly appeared in the light of the lantern, alive and completely unharmed. "But you're a moron. Have you been hiding here the whole time? We've been looking for you everywhere, you bastard," Vitya shouted, and came almost to the lost classmate. "Why are you yelling at me? I was in the room with you and then everything was lost. I woke up here. I don't remember anything else," answered Mishka, furrowing his brows. "Come on, you mean you didn't hear anything?" "No," she replied. Kolya gasped for several minutes as some monster tore at him. I narrowed my eyes and began to carefully watch the newcomer's movements. His slightly nervous twitch of the shoulder made me vaguely suspicious. "Okay, we'll deal with it later. Step aside. I'll turn on the power supply." As soon as I got close to the switchboard, Misha suddenly flicked it violently on the switch and said, completely unexcited, "It's not working. I already checked." His words sent goosebumps through my body. I had a terrible feeling, but I didn't dare say it out loud. "If you're telling the truth, and the monster really exists, then we need to hide somewhere safe." There was no hint of surprise in Misha's voice. His face didn't change at the mention of a devilish creature that could easily tear any of us to pieces. "You know what I noticed? There is no fear in your eyes. You're obviously hiding something. But what exactly is that?" I asked, looking at my classmate. He jerked involuntarily and looked at me with a frown. We stood like that in complete silence for a few seconds, until my companion put on a fake smile and spoke. "Guys, to be honest, I think you're just exaggerating a bit." "That's right. You know what I noticed? There is no fear in your eyes. You're obviously hiding something." "But what exactly is that?" I asked, looking at my classmate. I didn't listen to his ramblings any further, because at that moment my attention was suddenly caught by a strange rattling sound coming from downstairs. The source of the noise was fast approaching, and my eyes immediately filled with wild terror. "Vita, hurry to the switchboard, it's—" "What's going on?" I asked. Before I could finish, I heard a terrible roar, and then I felt a heavy blow to the back of my head, and I fell to the ground. I haven't passed out yet. Otherwise, I'm afraid to imagine what would happen to me next. I pretended to faint and watched the horrible scene with my eyes slightly open. My second best friend was being eaten alive by a hellish creature, making contented noises as it did so. The intestines and a lot of other organs flew in different directions. One hand was swallowed whole by the monster. I tried my best to keep myself in check. I lay still and waited for the right moment. I had to survive. Suddenly, to my right, I heard Misha's confident steps towards the monster. As if nothing had happened, my classmate walked right up to the peeping creature and then hugged it. He began stroking the demon's head, kissing his nose and saying, "Mother, relative, eat what you want. I will do anything for you. Thank you for coming back to me." The creature broke away from the feast, reaching out for my son with its clawed hands and pressing him against its body. Deciding to stop this disgusting display of affection, I rose to my feet and hurried to the switch. As soon as I turned it on, all the lights in the basement crackled from the sudden surge of electricity and turned on at the same time. The creature's flame flashed so brightly that it instantly engulfed the two silhouettes in a huff. The last thing I heard as I ran out of the basement was the eerie scraping of bones and the desperate screams of mother and son. Thanks to that, I still managed to get out of this hell. But at what cost? Both of my best friends remained forever within the walls of that goddamn mansion, and I went from being the lively, jolly soul of society to a closeted paranoid. But at least I survived, and thank God for that. It's been 5 years since then, but I still regret taking the boys to that ill-fated party.